This is a quick video of my garden for this year. I only have just under a half-acre property, but I've lived here my whole life, and I'm able to get a lot of produce out of it. There's my little raised bed with the oregano starting to spread and rosemary plants. In my small 5x8 greenhouse that I've had up about 3 years, I've got onions, and I've got the large leaf lettuce basil, 3 Thai dragon giant pepper plants, a couple of determinant celebrity plants, got a little pot with some basil in it, and a few more little rosemary plants. This is my pepper patch. I have 48 peppers, and I've got everything surrounded with poultry netting and an extra strand of electric wire at the top. And I've got California Wonders, orange, red, yellow monster peppers, and there's 1 Thai dragon pepper, and I have that set up with the drip irrigation underneath everything. I've got landscape cloth and some hay down that my neighbor gave me, and it's doing very well. In my garlic that I planted last fall, I guess it was about the 1st of October, and I harvested the scapes this past week and did a stir fry with those, so they should be ready to probably come out, I imagine, in about 2 weeks. Then this is my main, well, not my main garden just yet, this is my cucumber patch here, my little raised bed with my cucumbers that I'll have go up both sides of the trellis and up over the top. Then my main garden, which has landscape fabric down that I've been using for about 3 years, thanks to Living Traditions Homestead. They gave me some good ideas. I've got my poultry netting, my extra strand of deer wire at the top, and my Premier One little chargers has worked great. I've also have drip irrigation underneath the landscape cloth in this garden. So here I have my okra plants. They're growing. Now that whole patch over there last year, that's been gardened for years. I had potatoes there for years. After the mess I had with the rain and everything last year, I swore I wasn't going to plant any more potatoes. For me and my wife, we'll just buy some potatoes this year. So for the first time this year, I'm going to grow some ambrosia melons. So I've got 10 plants here of ambrosia melons, which are doing very, very well. These were supposed to be 3 Juliet tomato plants, but it turns out 2 of them are a mystery tomato. I have no idea what they're going to be. And then I ended up with 1 Juliet plant. And then here are my Cucuzza squash. I grew those last year, and I put up an arbor this year for them with 2 cattle panels. And I saved about a 4.5 foot. These are the super long Cucuzza, the thinner ones. And I saved one for seed last year. And the germination rate on the seeds that I saved, they were 100%. So they're doing very well. Here I have 2 early girl tomato plants. And then here I have, this year I'm doing my squash up poles, so I can keep all the, help keep the pests out, and they'll climb up the poles, and I can keep all the foliage cleaned out the bottom. And it seems like the patty pan, Benning's green tint are going to be very good climbers. They're getting good, like good center starting to go up on them. And then I have some Haas Gentry yellow squash. They appear to be a good climbing squash. And then I have several Maudie picks from Haas seeds. And then I've got 2 black beauties. I don't know how good they're going to climb. They look more like they're going to stay a bush. They're a green zucchini. And then I have a Pasicola zucchini. And then two of those, and then another Black Beauty. These are my double stem tomato plants, which I have up on the arbor that was up from last year. And I use the double stem method with the strings. So I have watermelon beefsteaks plants, and then I've got Jet Stars, and they're just getting loaded with tomatoes. All my tomatoes, I use the toothbrush method, where I go through about once every 3 days and I pollinate all the blossom with toothbrush. I'm starting to get some pretty nice tomatoes, but they're loaded in blossom, and the toothbrush method really helps with pollination. But like I said, I also have the drip irrigation under the landscape cloth on this garden. You'll have to excuse the video because it's just a cheap little camera that I've had probably for 10 years, but it does pretty good videos. And then I've got 2 heirlooms that I got from a cousin of mine. Then I've got some Tasty Pink beefsteaks, which are a trial from Totally Tomatoes. They're getting tomatoes on them. You can see they're getting. Of course, there was one mystery plant that was mixed in with their seeds. I have no idea what that one is. And then I've got my Damsel pink tomatoes. They're not a real big tomato, but they really produce. But I live in Zone 7, just outside of Frederick in Maryland. So, and then I've got some big beefs, and they're loaded. They're loaded in blossom and getting tomatoes starting to hang. Of course, the lower end of my garden is a lot wetter, and stuff's always just a little bit stunted down here. So this last big beef's pretty small, and I guess I should take the tomatoes off, but I'm just going to leave it alone and see what it does. And then these are which I've been able to get for the first time probably about 3 years. This is my trellis going up for my Big Mama lima beans. I grew those for years, and then burr peas didn't have the seeds, and I've been planting King of the Garden, which have done very well. But I was able to get some big beef lima, or not big beef, Big Mama lima beans this year, and they're getting their runners starting to go up the string. And I tell you, it really makes a difference when you have drip irrigation, because you don't really have to worry about it. And I just use mostly rainwater, so everything in the main garden is doing really good. And then I want to show you of course, these are my rows where I'm going to have green beans. Here's green beans, tender crop green beans. And then my water catchment system that I use when I don't use the well water, I've got 4 barrels that are hooked up to one building. This little building here catches 4 50-gallon barrels, and then I've got my big 1,500-gallon tank, and I've got a pump inside my little pump house there to pump the water back, and that catches off of this building here, and then it also catches water from this building here, this big building roof, and it comes down both sides and comes across and goes into my barrel with a sub pump in it, and then that pumps the water up and around and in through a pipe that goes into the other big green tank. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Excuse the quality. I know it's not the best camera, but hope you enjoy it. Thanks.